Something has been changing around you, even if you could not explain it. The same places feel different. The same people speak the same words, but they no longer reach you the way they used to. You may have blamed stress, bad sleep, or your imagination. But deep inside, there has been one quiet feeling that refused to leave. It kept telling you that something invisible had moved. Not outside you, inside you. And today, that feeling finally has a reason. A shift has happened in the 0-point field. It was not loud. There were no alarms, no flashing lights, no message in the sky. It happened in complete silence because the deepest changes always do. The 0-point field is the place where every possibility already exists. It is the silent space before thought, before emotion, before reality takes shape. Most people move through life without ever feeling it. But a small number of souls notice when its rhythm changes. They feel it in their body before their mind understands it. If you clicked on this video today, it may not be random at all. Have you noticed strange moments lately? You think of someone, and they call you minutes later. You walk into a room and suddenly forget why you came, as if one version of reality disappeared and another quietly replaced it. Old habits feel heavy. Things you once chased now seem empty. At the same time, you cannot explain why your heart keeps pulling you toward something bigger. These are not mistakes. They are signs that your inner frequency is no longer matching the old world. Imagine standing between two radio stations. For a moment, you hear only static. One signal is fading, while another is becoming stronger. That static feels confusing, but it means you are moving to a new channel. Human consciousness works the same way. When your frequency begins to change, your old reality loses its grip before the new one becomes clear. That space between the two worlds is where most people give up. They think something is wrong with them. But those who stay calm discover that they are not falling apart. They are being tuned into something far greater. Why does everything feel different? A quiet voice inside asks. Another voice answers just as softly. The strange part is that this shift was never forced on you. But here is what almost nobody tells you. Every major frequency shift attracts a test. The old version of your life never leaves quietly. It tries to pull you back with fear, doubt, distractions, and familiar patterns. That is why, over the next few days, something unexpected may happen. A person from your past may suddenly return. An opportunity you thought was gone may appear again. Or one decision, which seems very small, may quietly decide which version of your future becomes real. And the moment that test arrives, you will finally understand why the 0-point field chose to move right now. The test never looks like a test when it first arrives. That is why so many people miss it. They expect a bright sign or a dramatic moment. Instead, it often hides inside an ordinary day. You wake up, check your phone, answer a message, or walk into a familiar place. Everything seems normal. But beneath the surface, your frequency is already making choices before your mind even notices them. Think back over the last few days. Did someone suddenly disappear without a reason? Did you lose interest in something you once cared about? Maybe a plan fell apart at the last second. At first, it felt like bad luck. But what if those moments were not losses? What if they were quiet removals? The 0-point field does not only open new paths. It also closes the ones that can no longer carry your new vibration. That is why some relationships begin to feel strange during a shift. You sit with someone you have known for years, yet the conversation feels empty. You smile, but something inside stays silent. Then you meet a complete stranger for only a few minutes, and somehow you leave feeling lighter than you have in months. This is not about judging people. It is about resonance. Your energy naturally moves toward what matches your new state and gently pulls away from what no longer does. Am I changing? You ask yourself. Or is the world changing? The answer comes in a way you did not expect. Both. But you noticed it because your frequency moved first. The moment those words settle inside you, another strange thing begins to happen. Your intuition becomes louder than your fear. You start feeling answers before you can explain them. A place suddenly feels wrong even though nothing looks different. A decision feels right even when logic argues against it. For years you trusted only what your eyes could see. Now something deeper is asking for your attention. This is where many people turn back. They become uncomfortable because the old mind wants proof before taking a step. But the new frequency works differently. It asks for trust first, then reveals the proof afterward. That is why the biggest opportunities often appear hidden inside uncertainty. They do not look impressive at the beginning. They simply feel true. At the same time, your old patterns become louder than ever. Doubts return. You suddenly question your worth. Small problems seem larger than they really are. It almost feels as if something is trying to pull you back into your previous life. This is not punishment. It is resistance. Every higher level of awareness creates friction with the version of you that is afraid to let go. Then something unexpected happens. Late one evening, you notice the clock showing repeating numbers again. It is not the first time. You have ignored them before. But tonight feels different. A calm feeling moves through your chest, followed by a single thought that does not sound like your usual inner voice. It has already started. You freeze for a moment. Started what? No answer comes. Only silence. But somehow, that silence feels more powerful than any explanation you have ever heard. And without realizing it, you are only one step away from discovering what the shift in the 0-point field has actually unlocked inside you. The next morning, nothing looks different, yet everything feels different. The air seems lighter. Your thoughts are quieter. Even the small noise around you does not pull your attention the way it used to. It is as if an invisible layer has been lifted from your mind. You cannot prove it, but you know something has changed. Then life begins sending small signals. You think about taking a different road, and later you hear there was a long delay on the one you normally use. You suddenly remember someone you have not spoken to in years, and within hours their name appears in front of you. A random sentence from a stranger stays in your mind all day because it sounds like an answer to a question you never asked out loud. Most people call these coincidences. But when they happen again, and again, and again, the 0-point field does not communicate with words. It communicates through patterns. The more your frequency rises, the easier those patterns become to notice. They were always there. Your mind was simply too busy to see them. Have you ever searched for a new car, and suddenly you notice that same model everywhere? The cars did not appear overnight. Your awareness changed. Reality works in a similar way. As your frequency shifts, you begin noticing opportunities, people, and ideas that were invisible before. The world has not changed nearly as much as your perception has. That is why protecting your attention becomes so important. Where your attention goes, your energy follows. And where your energy stays, your future slowly begins to grow. This is the secret most people never discover. They spend years trying to change the outside world while feeding the same old thoughts every day. But the 0-point field responds to your dominant state, not your temporary wishes. A few positive words cannot cancel hours of fear. A single hopeful thought cannot overpower a mind that expects failure every morning. The shift asks one simple question. What are you practicing without realizing it? Because every repeated emotion becomes a signal. Every repeated signal becomes a pattern. And every pattern quietly becomes reality. For a moment, this truth feels uncomfortable. Not because it is negative, but because it places more power in your hands than you expected. If your daily state has been shaping your reality, then changing that state changes far more than your mood. It changes the direction of your life. But there is something even deeper. Not everyone is experiencing this shift in the same way. Some people feel energized. Others feel exhausted. Some suddenly lose friends. Others suddenly meet people who seem strangely familiar, as if they have known them forever. The same wave is moving through everyone, but each person receives it according to the frequency they have been carrying. And then a question appears that changes everything. If the field is responding to your frequency, who or what has been influencing that frequency all along? The answer is far closer than you think, and once you see it, you will never look at your thoughts the same way again. For years, you believed every thought in your mind belonged to you. Every fear felt personal. Every doubt sounded like your own voice. But what if many of those thoughts were never truly yours? What if they were simply old programs, repeated so many times that they became familiar? Think about the first time you were told to be careful, to stay small, or not to dream too big. Maybe it came from a teacher, a family member, a friend, or a painful experience. At the time, your mind accepted those words without question. It stored them as truth. Then those beliefs quietly shaped your choices for years. The 0-point field does something unexpected during a shift. It shines a light on those hidden programs. That is why old memories suddenly return. A conversation from years ago appears in your mind for no clear reason. A mistake you thought you had forgotten suddenly feels fresh again. It is not happening to hurt you. It is happening because your mind is showing you what is ready to be released. The first reaction is often resistance. I don't want to think about this again. But the deeper voice says, you are not reliving it. You are finally seeing it clearly. The moment you stop fighting the memory, something changes. You notice that the emotion is weaker than it used to be. The story loses its power. The fear that once controlled your decisions no longer feels as heavy. It is almost as if the memory has been waiting for this exact moment to leave. This is why many people feel emotional during a frequency shift. One minute they are calm. The next, they feel sadness, joy, gratitude, or even tears without knowing why. They think they are becoming unstable. In reality, they are becoming lighter. Every emotion that is honestly felt and released creates more space inside. And that empty space is not really empty. It becomes available for something new. A clearer mind, a stronger intuition, a deeper sense of peace. But the shift is not finished yet. As the old programs begin to fade, another voice becomes easier to hear. It does not shout. It never argues. It simply speaks with quiet certainty. You already know the next step. At first, you ignore it because it seems too simple. Call that person. Start that project. Leave that habit. Take that opportunity. Rest today. Forgive yourself. The guidance is rarely dramatic. Yet the more you follow it, the more life begins to flow instead of struggle. Doors open without force. Conversations happen at the perfect time. The right information appears exactly when you need it. You begin to notice that reality is no longer pushing against you. It is responding to you. And then one evening, while sitting in complete silence, a realization appears so clearly that it almost takes your breath away. The 0-point field did not change to become closer to you. It only became easier for you to remember that you were never separate from it. The moment that truth settles into your heart, one final question rises to the surface. If you have always been connected to this field, then what happens when you consciously choose the frequency you send into it every single day? Most people never ask that question. They spend their lives reacting to whatever happens around them. Good news makes them feel powerful. Bad news makes them feel weak. Their inner state changes with every outside event. Without realizing it, they hand over the signal they send into the field to the world around them. But something inside you has started to change. You are beginning to understand that your frequency is not only a reaction. It is also a choice. That does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It does not mean forcing yourself to smile when your heart feels heavy. Real frequency is not built from fake happiness. It is built from awareness. The moment you notice fear without becoming trapped by it, you have already changed the signal. The moment you choose gratitude in the middle of uncertainty, your energy begins moving in a different direction. Imagine standing beside a still lake at sunrise. If the water is disturbed, the reflection becomes unclear. You cannot see the sky, even though the sky has not disappeared. But when the water becomes calm, everything above it appears with perfect clarity. Your mind works the same way. The field is always there. The guidance is always there. But a restless mind cannot reflect it. That is why silence becomes so powerful after a shift. Not because silence creates answers, but because it allows you to hear the answers that were already waiting. For the next few days, pay close attention to the moments between your thoughts. Those tiny spaces may last only a second, yet they carry a peace that cannot be explained. In those quiet moments, ideas appear without effort. Solutions arrive without struggle. You stop chasing clarity because clarity quietly comes to you. Then something unexpected begins happening. People start responding to you differently. Someone who always argued with you suddenly speaks with respect. A stranger smiles for no reason. An old conflict loses its intensity without anyone forcing it. It almost feels as if the world has changed its attitude toward you. But the truth is simpler. The signal you are sending has changed, and the world is answering it. This does not happen overnight in every area of life. Some things shift quickly, others take time. But once your inner frequency becomes stable, reality has no choice but to begin reflecting it. The outside may move slowly, yet the direction has already changed. Still, there is one mistake that can pull people back into the old pattern. After feeling this new energy, they become impatient. They want instant proof, instant success, instant transformation. The moment they do, fear quietly returns. Maybe nothing really changed. That single thought can become a doorway back into the old cycle. But the field does not respond to panic. It responds to consistency. Small choices, repeated every day. That is how a new reality is built. And just when you begin to trust this process, one final layer of the shift reveals itself. You realize the 0-point field never wanted to give you a different life. It wanted to reveal a different version of you. Because once that version fully awakens, the life you have been waiting for can no longer stay hidden. From this point forward, the journey is no longer about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you were before fear taught you to doubt yourself. Long before the pressure to fit in. Long before the endless noise filled your mind. There was a quiet part of you that trusted life without needing constant proof. That part has never disappeared. It has simply been waiting beneath the surface. The shift in the 0-point field is bringing that hidden part back into your awareness. You may notice it in very simple moments. You stop rushing through your morning. You breathe a little deeper. You listen more than you speak. Instead of asking, "What if everything goes wrong?" you begin asking, "What if this is leading me exactly where I need to be?" That one question changes the direction of your energy. The mind immediately searches for problems. The heart quietly searches for possibilities. The more often you choose the second voice, the stronger it becomes. This is why some people seem peaceful even when life is difficult. It is not because they have fewer challenges. It is because they stopped allowing every challenge to define their frequency. They learned that peace is not something the world gives them. It is something they protect. And protection does not come from building walls around yourself. It comes from choosing what you allow into your mind every day. Every conversation, every video, every thought you repeat, every emotion you feed. Each one is either raising your signal or pulling it back toward the old pattern. That is why this shift feels so personal. It asks you to become more careful with your attention than ever before. Because attention is energy, and energy becomes experience. Imagine carrying a small light through a dark forest. Wherever you point that light, you can clearly see the path. The rest remains hidden. Your awareness works in exactly the same way. The direction of your attention slowly becomes the direction of your life. Then something remarkable begins to happen. The things that once drained you lose their hold. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to everyone. You stop chasing approval from people who never truly understood you. You become comfortable saying no without guilt. You begin protecting your peace as if it were your greatest treasure. Not because you have become distant, but because you finally understand its value. And the field responds immediately. Not always with dramatic miracles. Sometimes with a single conversation that changes your future. Sometimes with an idea that arrives at exactly the right moment. Sometimes by removing something that was quietly holding you back all along. What once looked like delay now feels like preparation. The pieces begin fitting together in ways you could never have planned. Then one evening, as you reflect on everything that has changed, you notice something that almost makes you smile. The person who desperately searched for signs at the beginning of this journey has slowly become the person who no longer needs them. Because you are no longer waiting for the universe to tell you that you are on the right path. You can already feel it. And that feeling is stronger than any sign you could ever receive. There comes a quiet moment when you stop asking, "When will my life change?" and begin asking something far more powerful. How do I keep this frequency alive? That question marks the real beginning. Anyone can feel inspired for a day. Anyone can experience a powerful moment after watching a video or reading a meaningful message. But a lasting shift is built through the choices you make when no one is watching. Every morning, before the world asks for your attention, there is a brief moment when your mind is still open. Those first few minutes matter more than most people realize. If you begin them with fear, rushing, or endless distractions, your energy follows that direction for the rest of the day. But if you begin with stillness, even for 60 seconds, you give your frequency a different starting point. You do not need a perfect routine. You do not need special tools. You only need one honest decision. To become aware before becoming busy. The field responds to that awareness. Not because it rewards effort, but because awareness removes the noise that has always been blocking the signal. As the days pass, another change quietly appears. You stop trying to control every outcome. You still work. You still plan. You still take action. But you are no longer fighting life every step of the way. Instead of forcing every door to open, you begin noticing which doors open naturally. Instead of chasing every opportunity, you become patient enough to recognize the right one. This patience is not weakness. It is trust. And trust carries a frequency that fear can never imitate. People around you may not understand what has changed. Some may even tell you that you are acting differently. You simply smile, because they are seeing the result. They cannot see the quiet work happening inside you, the fears you released, the habits you questioned, the peace you chose again and again. That invisible work is what changed your outer world. Then one afternoon, something unexpected happens. A situation that would have upset you only a few months ago unfolds right in front of you. The same words, the same pressure, the same challenge. Yet this time, you remain calm. You answer with clarity instead of anger. You walk away without carrying the weight with you. In that moment, you realize something incredible. The world did not pass the test. You did. The shift was never measured by how much reality changed around you. It was measured by how differently you responded to reality. And that is the clearest sign that your frequency is no longer the same. The 0-point field did not give you a new identity. It uncovered the one that had been waiting beneath fear all along. Now there is only one question left. What will you create with the frequency you have finally remembered? Days turn into weeks, and something remarkable begins to happen. You stop looking for dramatic proof that the shift was real. Instead, you notice the quiet evidence. You sleep more peacefully. You make decisions with less hesitation. You recover from disappointment faster than before. You laugh more easily. You feel grateful for moments that once seemed too ordinary to notice. At first, these changes seem small. But small changes repeated every day create a completely different life. The people closest to you begin asking questions. You seem calmer. You don't react like you used to. What changed? You search for the right words, but there is no simple explanation. How do you explain an invisible shift? How do you describe something that cannot be touched, but can be felt every single day? So you simply smile and say, I started listening to myself. The truth is deeper than that. You stop treating your inner voice like background noise. For years, it whispered while fear shouted. Now fear has become the whisper, and your inner knowing has become the strongest voice in the room. That is the real transformation. Not becoming louder, becoming clearer. Then one evening, while watching the sunset, another realization arrives. You remember the person you were before this journey began. Always searching, always waiting. Always believing that one day life would finally begin. You almost feel compassion for that older version of yourself, because they thought the future would save them. They never realized that the future is created by the frequency they carry today. The 0-point field has been teaching this lesson from the very beginning. Reality follows consciousness, not the other way around. The more deeply you understand this, the less you fear uncertainty, because uncertainty is no longer empty. It becomes a space filled with possibility. And possibility is where every new reality is born. That is why this shift can never truly be reversed. You cannot unknow what you now understand. You cannot return to believing you are powerless after discovering the quiet strength that has always lived within you. Even if difficult days come again, even if life becomes challenging, you will remember, you are not the storm. You are the awareness watching it. You are not every passing thought. You are the one choosing which thoughts to believe. You are not trapped by yesterday. You are creating tomorrow with every decision you make today. That is the gift hidden inside this entire journey. Not escaping life. Meeting life as a different person. A person whose frequency is no longer controlled by fear. A person who understands that peace is an inner direction, not an outside destination. And as that understanding settles into your heart, one quiet truth remains. The 0-point field did not change to transform the world first. It changed to remind you that every lasting transformation has always begun within you. As you reach this moment, take a second and think about where this journey began. It started with one simple idea. Something invisible had shifted. At first, it sounded impossible. Then the signs began appearing. Old habits started falling away. Your reactions changed. Your awareness became sharper. Your peace became stronger. Little by little, you stopped chasing a different life and started becoming a different person. That is the meaning hidden behind every frequency shift. It is not about escaping reality. It is about meeting reality with a higher level of consciousness. The zero-point field was never asking you to be perfect. It was asking you to be present. Because the present moment is where every possibility exists. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, only here, only now. If there is one thing to remember after this video, let it be this. Every thought is a signal. Every emotion carries energy. Every choice becomes a direction. And every day gives you another chance to choose the frequency you want to live from. You may not control everything that happens around you, but you can always choose the state from which you respond. That choice is more powerful than most people ever realize. Maybe the greatest shift was never happening somewhere far away. Maybe it was happening quietly inside every person who decided to wake up instead of living on autopilot. If that person is you, then today is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new way of living. One where you trust your intuition more than your fear. One where you protect your peace instead of chasing approval. One where you understand that your inner world becomes the blueprint for your outer world. Before you leave, carry one simple question with you. When you wake up tomorrow morning, what frequency will you choose to bring into the world? Because the answer to that question will shape far more than your day. It will quietly shape your future. And if this message found you at exactly the right moment, perhaps it was never just another video. Perhaps it was a reminder. A reminder that the power you have been searching for was never outside you. It has been waiting within you all along. If these words connected with something deep inside you, don't let this feeling end here. Share in the comments what changed for you while listening. Your story may be the sign someone else has been waiting for. And if you're ready to continue exploring consciousness, frequency, and the hidden patterns shaping reality, subscribe and join us on the next journey. Until then, stay aware, stay present, and remember, your frequency is becoming your future.